LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zoobie. So, NCAA, big disappointments everywhere, but the biggest disappointment was St. John's having their worst game of the year.
Yes, John, we have not spoken in a while, and do want to thank everybody for checking out our latest show, which unfortunately had some production issues, so it didn't get dropped as soon as we wanted. But we had a very long, interesting conversation, I thought, and probably some people saw it, John, and was like, I got a little intimidated. 2 hours of Bouk and Zoobie, so we get it. But anyway, as always, thanks everybody for joining the show. Yeah, and that's what it is. We have not spoken since our pretty much our March Madness predictions, and I had St. John's, John, legitimately thought that they had a chance, and I had them going to the Final Four, and to lose in such I think it was just really a bitter defeat, and where I think Coach Pitino is skated on I thought one of the worst jobs I've ever seen out of a coach. I'm sorry. What do you think of being the big St. John's guy on the show?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't overlook 9 missed foul shots, 17 missed layups. But then you have Pitino disciplining R.J. Lewis for the final 5 minutes. And I'm like, when he took him out, I figured, all right, it was maybe something defensively, something. And he was going to. And then when I see him sitting back in, I said, okay, is it an injury? And when I found out it was none of those, I said, what was he doing? Listen, you go with your best players at the end of the year. Now's not the time to discipline. You do that whenever.
It's too late.
It was too late.
And it's John, we watched, and you watched every game. I watched a lot of them. We attended games. RJ Lewis kind of had games like this. This was nothing that out of the norm with him, where he was erratic for parts of the game. And then in the end, he did a great job. We were at the Big East Championship, John. What happened in that game? RJ
Yeah.
Lewis had 2 points at the half, and he had ended up with 29. How do you do this as the head coach to your team? I am sorry. The way he is skated on this is, to me, outrageous. It's just a terrible job by him and his own ego getting in the way, because I think what happened was that Lewis just wasn't listening to him anymore. He shut him off and he was like doing his own thing, because there was one moment, I don't know if you caught it, during the game where off kind of like to the side, you saw it briefly, Zuby Etchafor was grabbing RJ and kind of yelling at him during the game. Do you remember that during the game?
Yep.
So there was definitely something that was developing throughout the game. So I just think that Pitino got PO'd at him because he wasn't listening to what he wanted him to do.
Well, I think the big thing was when he took the three. The problem was that there were 3 guys around him. The last 3 that he tried to take,
Right.
and Wiltshire was wide open, and he didn't pass him the ball.
Right.
And at that point, after he hit the 2 foul shots, they were only down by 2. It wasn't like they were getting blown out.
It was a close game.
And then you had who did he have in for him?
He had the Greek in, John. He had the Greek, and he missed the front end of a 1-and-1.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they were missing a lot of one-on-ones.
No, but
it was just terrible shooting the entire game.
No, I agree. But Leotopoulos they said he had 4 free throws the whole season.
It's true.
4. And he's taking a clutch. It's nothing to do with the kid. It's nothing to do with him. It's unfair to him. He actually played his heart out. He plays hard. But I just find it amazing that there wasn't this huge uproar. And
the press let him get away with it.
Right.
You know why
right.
I took him out. And I'm like,
no, we don't.
Tell us.
Right.
Yeah, no, he got it. You're right. He got away with that one because he was angry that the kid didn't pass the ball to someone. You have this is your best player. I
I
don't
know
know.
what, John. You said it. How do you do it in this point in the season? You missed your chance. It's just really just ridiculous. And post the game, or I don't think R.J. Lewis is ready for the NBA, and I think the NBA is going to tell him to go back, and he's going to be a high-priced free agent who's going to land somewhere and
Yep.
may come back to haunt St. John's because this kid played his guts out. Come on, he played so hard the whole year. It's just
Yeah.
unbelievable. He's not a prima donna. I mean, he should have been getting on Kadari. He was the one who committed the ridiculous dumb fouls, right? And the NCAA tournament, John, is called differently. You're getting officials from all over the country. You're not just dealing with Big East officials. And he reaches in early, and they got him on a couple of cheapy, the old ticky tacks, and that
Yeah.
really hurt them big
It
time in
hurt them.
that game.
It
That was
hurt
a
them. I mean,
I
they had
don't
a lot. Listen, they had a lot of injuries. I mean, Scott was playing with a broken thumb. I
right.
mean, they had some injuries there,
And
but
Smith too. Well, Smith
and
was banged up.
yep, yep.
So,
So,
but that's
all
another
these
reason
guys,
for RJ to play.
they had Ruben Prey in for him. I'm like, come on,
I
that's
mean,
who
Prey
was.
played hard, but it's
He
still
played hard, but
offensively.
but
But
that's
John, in the 5 minutes that he was out at the end of the game, it was like you said, a what, 2 point game, right? There was
it was a 2 point game,
right, and he is the type of guy you can get on fire in a minute and
right?
put up two or three, two couple of
I
threes,
I didn't
make a
understand it.
steal, and you have him on the bench because you're trying to make an example out of him. I'm sorry. I know I just had this thing has been burning up in me for the last couple of weeks.
It was ridiculous. And the thing is now he decided to go in the portal and
He's gone.
try to get to NBA. But even if you go in the portal, you could go back to your team. It doesn't mean that you
Absolutely.
can't go back.
I don't disagree, but I think this bridge is burned because since then, and on the other side of the equation, Zubietchifor is back with some cash, and now the kid from Providence, Hopkins, right? It's
He's good.
Hopkins.
Yep.
He is a good player who literally, John, has not played for 2 seasons. So it's going to be this is a boom or bust. So it's I don't know how much they're paying him. It's not my money. Technically, I guess it's a little bit of yours. So that one is a calculated risk there with him with
Yeah, and
Hopkins.
you
I
have
forget
that
his first
kid
name.
that you know a little bit better than me, that Josin Sainon is his
Sainon
name.
from Arizona State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Big 12 guy. I saw him play. He's a good player,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's a good player. I'm not going to say he's not a good player.
You see who
He's
else went in the portal from St. John's? And he says it was an excruciating decision from Brady Dunlop.
Oh, Dunlop did, and also the Etcher Kawarian or whatever his name is, right? Then he also went the 7-footer.
Did he? Oh, I
Yes,
didn't see that. When
yeah,
did
that
he
was
do
today.
that?
Yeah, today.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yes.
That's
So
interesting.
he'll be on his third school. So John,
That's
I mean,
interesting. Wow.
college basketball's got some issues to say the least.
Wow.
It's a free agent market. The coaching situation. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, just to quickly touch on the Final Four.
By the
Um,
way, I have
yes.
3 of my 4 teams that I predicted are in the Final Four. So I had Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Tennessee. That was the only one I missed out on was Tennessee. I had
Well,
Tennessee
John,
beating Houston.
a famous thoughts on people who are pat themselves in the back picking 1 seeds. So that is again, I did get 2 out of 4 myself. I have Auburn against Houston. I have Houston winning. I actually think personally the winner of the Houston Duke game is going to be the champion.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. I do want to talk about Florida for a second, and I think
Wow. You talk about
a tremendous choke job by Texas Tech. Let's face
unbelievable.
it.
I saw that. I could not. Wow. That was
Big
crazy. They
six
had
point
him.
lead,
They
six
had
point
him.
lead on the line. And John, the dreaded 1-and-1s. There's actually only 3 times in each half where a team will shoot a 1-and-1, and it's not guaranteed. Obviously, if it's a shooting foul, if the eighth, ninth, the seventh, eighth, and ninth, right? You've got to do 1-and-1s. On the line, John, 6 point lead, 2 consecutive missed 1-on-1s. But and a great comeback by Florida. So I don't want to knock them at all because they deserve it. They've had a great season. Walter Clayton, who's actually really shown to be a really good college player. It'll be interesting to see how he progresses in the NBA. But one thing I got to talk about, which is absolutely drove me crazy. I don't know if you noticed it, if you saw that whole game. Clayton, every time, and now this is, I want to tell everybody out there who's watching our show, Final Four coming up this weekend, watch Walter Clayton jump shooting from three, kicking his leg out every
Mhm.
time, and drawing contact. There were two plays in the first half of that game, John, where they called 3-point fouls with Clayton shooting, and I think he missed one. I think he was 5 out of 6. Where the first one I thought he stuck his leg out, they didn't show the replay. The second one I thought he stuck his leg out, they showed the replay, and he stuck his foot out. And the great announcers, I hate to say it, Ian Eagle and Raftery and Grant Hill, they didn't say anything. And I'm like,
Mhm.
he's kicking his leg out. So I'm telling you, folks, watch that in the Final Four. Clayton from three, trying to draw. And John, that is BS in my book. That is not a foul. It is not a foul. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's not only with that they blew that 6-point lead. They had a much larger lead with how many minutes was left? Maybe
I think it was
5.
9 points with 3 minutes. Three
It's
minutes.
right, something. You're right, right. I mean, I said, "Oh wow, this is going to be a major upset," and then
Yep. Florida came roaring back, and
can't
they hit
believe
their
it.
shots. They hit a few threes, so give them credit. But yeah, Texas Tech, they choked it, John. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they'd
Yeah,
probably be the first ones to admit it. The coach, he knew it. So they had a great season. So
it's going to be an exciting
it,
Final Four. I mean,
it should
these
be,
are
yeah.
great. These are great matchups.
Absolutely. I mean, Houston, Duke, and yeah, Kentucky, Auburn, Florida, SEC matchup over there. I mean, it's a shame they kind of didn't make the SEC teams separate. They did others, of course, but
Right.
they were both number one seeds. They really shouldn't have had the meeting in the Final Four because it would have been interesting to see if the SEC teams could have gotten both teams into the Final Four. I
True.
think that would have been a lot more intriguing. You're setting the bracket up. It's pretty obvious. They're one seeds. I'm not talking about a 3 or 4 seed. They're 2-1. So why would you want to match them up that way? Of course, Florida got shipped out west, so it's always this problem about the West Coast and having the teams out there. And I do feel terrible. And my team got beat.
They were
And
close there for a little while.
yeah, they had some. Let's put it this way, right, John? They had some off the court issues, to say the least.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I'm sorry to see Maryland lose, but I'm gonna have you do the rant of the week.
Thanks, John. So I want to uncover the real story at the University of Maryland, right, John? I'm going to tell it like it is, being an alum. And I will say, I went into Maryland in the 80s. So to kind of put some years out there, I want to say the exact ones. But this is not the Maryland of the 1980s. This is not the Maryland of the Len Bias and Boomer Esiason eras. Matter of fact, I have met Boomer a couple of times in my life, and I asked him about what the heck was going on at Maryland. And of course, this was more related to football. And he's like, I don't know, my friend. I have no idea what's going on down there. I have nothing to do with them. This
Wow,
is like at
wow,
least 15 years ago, John.
wow.
So the football program has been I mean, they've been producing NFL players. It's really interesting, but they have done nothing. Year here, year there. They've had, good teams. And then on the basketball side, they were a perennial team in the tournament, as you know, especially was not when I was there. Obviously, I was there when Len Bias played, so it was a great era back then. They had obviously a great era with great Gary Williams, who's one of the all-time great coaches. I mean, talk about one of the great Big East coaches that we don't talk about
Yeah.
because he was at Boston College. People forget in
Yeah.
that great conference, and then he went to Ohio State and he went to Maryland and he won a national championship. But John, this story about Kevin Willard, which is actually a local flair, right? Because he was at Seton Hall
Yes, he
and then
was.
and now he's going to Villanova. But the story behind the university is not, and it will tie into the Willard situation. And I'm not defending Kevin Willard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Kevin Willard is part of what college basketball is about. All the players are free agents and the coaches don't care. They're just going to the next job that they want, not necessarily for the most money. It depends a lot on who they work for. And the University of Maryland's leadership in the last, I'll say decade, because I honestly, don't know the exact time when the president that they have now started. But this guy, the president, is the king of the wokesters, John. We don't like to talk
Ah,
about woke too often,
no.
but he is the king, this guy. And what happened at Maryland is that the AD, this guy Damon Evans, actually left to take the SMU job, John.
Mm-hmm.
A lateral move to SMU. You could argue that's not a lateral move. That's going down. You're going from the Big Ten,
Sure.
big time university, to SMU in Dallas in the ACC now. So he left. So why did he leave? We don't know. And then all of a sudden, Willard's gone. And then Willard out the door is complaining about the university. So where's that coming from? It's coming from the king of woke who hired a person, a woman, to be basically, I guess, the right hand person of him, kind of talking, in regards to sports. And
Mm-hmm.
John, I have nothing against females, as you know, but if you saw this person, she's not exactly the athletic type. And I'm being nice. So we don't have an ex coach. We don't have an ex player. We just have another product of this university in 2025, folks, that is absolutely nothing like the university that I went to back in the day. And that is the rant of the week.
Yeah, I mean, and the worst thing with Willard is he was talking about how they weren't putting any type of money into the program. He didn't make it a secret that he was going to go to Villanova. I mean, that was the worst kept secret in the world. Everyone knew he was going to Villanova. But
John, I'm telling you, John, that's where it's coming from because it's not just about Kevin Willard. It's about the AD and why did he leave?
yeah,
And obviously Willard, followed him out the door. And and there's other ties into the story. Len Elmore, who was a Maryland grad and was a great basketball player back in the '70s before I went to school there, actually came out with a written statement, right, saying that they should be hiring from within the family of ex-Maryland athletes. And
sure,
there was
sure.
one, Dwayne Simpkins, who played at Maryland, actually after Len Bias. He actually played on a pretty good team. He got into the tournament at American University out of DC. He was never going to get the Maryland job. I would actually have been happy that he got the job. So what happened? They hired Buzz Williams from Texas A&M via Virginia Tech and via Marquette. I can't get where he was before. So Buzz Williams is actually a really good coach, John. He gets his guys play really hard. He can
Okay,
recruit. He is a
okay.
good coach, but nothing's changing here. It's just a coach who is it's not from the family, and he's a guy that is just going to most likely maybe wear out his welcome or look for the next better job in 5 or 6 years, if that. And that's where this school is. So after finally getting back to some respectability, um, did obviously should have maybe gotten a little further, but they had a good season.
They
But
had a good
guys are
season.
transferring. Derek Queen, who's actually a really good freshman, another part of this, like honestly, fantastic draft class, John. I'm telling you, the players coming out in this draft for the NBA, there is a ton of them.
Yeah.
and that'll be the late, and that'll be enough about them. But to talk about with Duke, who has, Cooper Flagg, who I unfortunately called Connor Flagg one time on one of our shows, so apologies on that months ago. And a guy named Con Knipple, John. Do you like? Have you been watching the Duke team? Because John,
I have not seen them,
you
believe it
have
or
not
not.
seen him. All right, so they got this guy. His name is Con Knipple, K-N-O. It's K-O-N and then K-N-E-U-E-P-P-E-L. I think his mother played college basketball. Excellent player. You'll like him. Flag is great. Proctor is a great shooter. That guy Malach, the center, is huge. I hate to say it
Oh,
because
I saw that. Yeah, I
Being a
saw that.
Maryland grad, Duke is obviously always enemy number one. Not to mention most everybody doesn't like Duke, besides their own fans, of course. But they do look like the class. I think Houston's got it. I think they've got a good chance to beat Duke. And to me, like I said earlier, that's my champion is coming out of that. And of course, since I picked Houston, of course I'll stick with them. But good for you. Obviously. Duke. So who did you have winning? Did you say
Duke.
that already? I apologize.
Duke.
So you have Duke
Oh, no,
winning.
no, no, no. Sorry.
No?
Florida.
Oh, you have Florida.
I had
Okay, so
Florida
you went
winning.
Florida over Duke. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out coming up on Saturday. We are talking actually this week. We've been all over the map, folks. It is Wednesday, right?
It's
April
Wednesday.
2nd. We did not want to do an April Fool's show. So we're doing the second. And as always, we wanted to thank everybody for checking out our content, right, John? YouTube.com. And for our Spotify.com users who want to check us out on YouTube, you got to search it Boukzoobie. It's the only way to find us. Please like, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, like our episodes across all the platforms. And of course, John, our friends at the world famous LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and always happy to work with them. And they have been, we've been on their platform, right, John? Are we coming up to our 100th show yet? Are we there
This
yet?
is number 96.
96 shows, all on Spotify, I think, almost everything, and obviously YouTube, about half of that, I guess. So as
Yeah.
always, you got to help us out, folks. It drives the algorithm because that's the key in this game. And liking the episode, subscribing, commenting, it always helps. And we are a word of mouth show, so please tell your friends.
By the way, the last episode, was that on Spotify?
Did it make? I hope it did. It did not. I don't know. I have to check with the
I,
producer. I
I,
assumed was. You're saying it
okay.
was not?
I checked it after the episode went on YouTube, but I didn't see it.
You
So
did
I'll
not
check
see
again.
it. So this
I'll check it
this
again.
could be a YouTube exclusive. I don't even know if it made it on the LIR site, so I apologize. We did something different, folks. We shot a live show with some call-ins. I thought it was a good show. It was long,
Yeah, it
but
was.
we had some. Again, this is a mom and pop shop to say the least. We do it for fun. It's all about the fun, John. And yeah, so let's shift gears. We'll get out of
By the
college
way,
hoops. Yes, sir.
one last thing in the
Of course,
NCAA,
go.
which
Of course, go.
so the Big East has been getting all these coaching changes, and
Okay.
one of them was Mr. Pitino's son, Richard Pitino,
Okay, that's
who
worthy.
went to Xavier from New Mexico.
Yeah.
And my text to you is the next step from Xavier will be St. John's when his father leaves.
Yes.
That's
That's a
my
very
that's my prediction.
that's
He's
very
only
wise.
42 years old. I didn't realize he was only
And he
42.
sounds like his dad. If you listen to the sideline interviews, it's pretty
Yeah,
funny. Sounds
yeah,
just like
yeah,
his dad.
yeah.
And again, I think Coach Pitino's a great coach. But I mean, he's got to take a hit. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna.
I agree with you.
I'm
I
sorry.
agree with you
Yeah,
on that. I
I
agree
don't
with you.
care. I mean, we tell it like it is, and he did a bad job. I'm
He did a
sorry.
bad
And
job.
okay, shut me up next year, coach, and win get to the Final Four. Anyway, yeah. So is that
Yeah,
Barry college basketball, or you?
that's it. Yeah, no,
That's it.
that's about it for
All
that.
right. Well, we got to do some NFL. Not really much on the teams because I think the biggest story, and I'm sure you've got stuff too, is the rule changes. Right? You want to do that?
Yeah, yeah. It's
So go
well, I
for it.
mean, the
What do you
one
got?
thing is with overtime, both teams will have a chance to get the ball, whether the other team scores a touchdown or not. The other team gets. But what we have been complaining about. Oh, by the way, with the before I get to the officials, the kickoff,
Yes.
they're bringing it out to the 35-yard line now.
That's where I thought you were headed. Okay, right,
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
yes. So that
It wasn't exactly a 40, so they made a compromise. 30. That's okay.
I think that
That's
was your number. I was the guy with I was on the island with 40. I still
right.
think 40 is the way to go because that will completely eliminate the touchback. I do think if the game's on the line, John, and there's a top returner back there, you're going to see still a decent amount of touchbacks, but definitely an improvement. I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest rule change that we both have been harping on all year is about the replay officials now finally getting a say and can actually overrule and change a call from the booth. Finally,
Right.
without a coach, throwing the challenge. So that's, I think, finally, because we've always been talking about roughing the passer and all these phantom, you know, calls. I think this is a very, very good rule change.
I agree. I mean, I think putting some transparency around the replay assist was a must. Like you said, I mean, we were crushing the NFL last year for nobody knew what the rules were. So now, as you said, they can tell from the eye in the sky if the official has thrown a bad flag on pretty much everything, correct? I think not every call, but
And
that's
but with face masks and
face. Well, that's what you're hoping. Roughing the passer, face mask, definitely. That's like, but they still will not let them throw the flag.
right,
So if he misses a face mask call on the field,
right,
and they don't throw the flag, it can still stand as a missed call. So they don't have the guts to go all the way. Now they should make that a reviewable play on the coach's side. So they haven't adjusted that because this is really about the replay assist, the unaccountable person in the booth who we don't even know who it is, as opposed to the officials on the field who we know who they are. I'm still a little skeptical about this. So we'll
well,
see how it plays. It's an improvement. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but it's still a problem if there is a face mask call that is missed. They cannot throw that
yeah,
flag.
they
So
can't.
it's a half measure, John. I'm sorry. I like the kickoff rule definitely. That definitely helps. And John, I didn't know if you heard, and I think they did change it, but you now can onside kick at any time during the game. Obviously, it still has to be announced, as I complained
Which is a
that it's
stupid. What's you want? I
no,
hate that.
John. They with the dynamic kickoff, they can't do the onside kick, obviously,
Right,
but they were making it where you only could do it in the fourth quarter,
right, right.
which was ridiculous. Which I again, this is if for people who listen to our show all the time, we brought this up where it's like I didn't even know that was a rule because it was like so absurd. Like I can't believe that in the theory you can't do an onside kick at the end of the third quarter if you're down big in the Super Bowl because I think that's what it was about, right?
Yeah.
Because the Super Bowl was a blowout. John, I'll tell you, the NFL they get a little closer. I'll take it. I'm not complaining.
But my thought about the officials in the sky. What if they're friends with the guys on the field? Are they wanting to embarrass these guys? And they may again, the politics. Do you want to make one of your friends look bad on the field? I don't know.
Yes. There's still a human element in there. You're right. We should know who they are. They better disclose who's the replay official in the booth. They got to tell everybody who he is or who she is, and that's it. And if they do it right, it's going to be a good thing. But it's not perfect because they're still going to be. You just want to get the calls right,
Right.
and a coach should be able to flag a missed call. If a guy gets face masked, he should be able to throw the challenge flag and get a flag thrown after a review. I just don't understand. They should still give the coach that, not still, give it to them for the first time. And then at least you're going to eliminate the bad calls because that's what it's all about. Not the judgment call where if you're a fan of the team, you're going to be so biased, you're not going to ever think it's against your team. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about that stuff. I'm talking about the obvious ones where even this rabid fan would admit, okay, that's the right call. So that's what you want to get done. And yeah, but the NFL, John, they're bulletproof. They'll still, everybody will be there. And I don't know how many people are going to be at Jet games this year because, folks, as you have heard many times over the last few shows, the Jets get every day they talk and any word comes out of their mouth, they are just telling you, get ready for a long season.
Uh,
But
hey,
don't
listen.
question them. But don't question them. And I see it coming, John. Aaron Glenn has got a chip on his shoulder,
Oh yeah.
and he's not going to win that battle. Parcells could win that battle because he had Super Bowl rings. I'm sorry, Aaron. You don't have that cred. Just ignore it. Answer the questions. Already getting a little snippy, right? There was a question about Jordan Travis, and he goes, "I'm not a doctor." And it's like, Coach, we know you're not a doctor. You can just say that just give a plain answer. We don't know, if he's going to be ready, and move on to the next question.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Don't fall into the trap, Coach. They said it. It's easy. And when they know you're vulnerable, John, it makes it more fun for them to do. And Rich Cimini, let's face it, the guy's an expert at it.
Yeah.
He's fair, but he's trying to get under everybody's skin. There's no doubt about it. He's been doing it for decades. A lot of the other guys don't say anything. He's the guy, and that was the guy who asked the question. And I give him credit for asking it because it's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
So, and why does he have to answer it that way?
And he's
So, just a warning, folks, get ready for a coach who may not handle criticism too well. He's got to understand that there's no patience here. They can't plead for patience, John. They can't do it.
well, they're
Right?
certainly talking up all these players, these the bargain bin basement players that they're picking up. They're really talking them up like we're getting all these superstars, and I'm like,
Well, they've brought in a cornerback Stevens and a safety Andre Cisco. Those are two positions of need. Those are two names to people to get used to. And then the draft picks. And John, I guess our next show will probably be our draft show.
yes. And our friend Alexander will be with us
All right.
with
Has he
maybe
been
finding a sleeper.
preparing?
Oh yeah, he's ready to give us some more sleepers that we've never heard of.
Okay, so we're gonna go over last year's selections and give like you'll have to put on. He did pretty well. And we'll talk with him about the draft. So we're not going to really go there. We've talked about in the last couple of shows the story, what's going to happen. John, it's pretty funny. I think the last show we said that this whole idea that Sanders was going to fall into the late first round and be in the second round, and next thing you know, he's back in the top five again. So I know the Giant fans are obviously very eager to see what's going on because they have made a couple of moves, right? And we should mention them where they have when you have two quarterbacks that aren't very good, does that equal one good quarterback, John?
It's amazing. I mean, actually, you have three quarterbacks. Does that equal one good quarterback? I
Well,
mean,
Tommy DeVito, John, better be hoping that they don't call out a quarterback's name on draft day
he's gone.
because if they do,
Bye bye.
he'll be moving on. So maybe the Jets can pick him up. They might need anyway. They might need some competition. But anyway, nothing against
Yeah, I mean,
DeVito. He made the NFL. It's a lot more than I have ever
yeah,
done.
yeah, true, true. Listen, the Giants picked up Winston 2 years, 8 million. Then they go and pick up Wilson for 1 year, 15.5 million. So, you know, I,
It's,
I, I don't know how to explain that for Giant fans because I'm saying to myself, okay, we know that you're rebuilding and you're going to have a year or two buffer here, but two of them? I mean, what was the purpose of bringing Wilson after you had Winston for 2 years? And actually, they got Winston pretty cheaply.
I
Why are you
think
going to go
that's
waste a $15.5 million for a
I think
36-year-old?
that's who's playing, John. That's who's going to
Wow,
start. Wilson's going to start.
wow.
I don't know what the Giants are doing. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. I mean, they're not going to survive a year. There's just no way how it
I don't know
plays
what
out.
they're
Their
doing.
only chance for survival is to draft the young quarterback. Obviously, Cam Ward is not going to be available. Sanders will be available for them. They won that meaningless game that just
With the
absolutely was
Colts.
still. I'm telling you, John, as the Jets have done that a few times in their, as a fan, it just you want to bang your head against the wall. They could have controlled the whole draft, but they win this meaningless game at the end of the year. I'm sorry. I know the players don't want to tank, but they could have instructed the coach to play all the backups and
Right,
just live
right.
with it. And who cares? So they tanked. Who cares? It was the smart thing to do. And now they're signing Russell Wilson. So, I mean, how can you say that tanking wasn't the right thing to do if you're a Giant fan? I mean, it is so blatant. And not to say that Cam Ward's going to be a Hall of Famer. We don't know. But at least it would have breathed some excitement into the season. I mean, John, between the Jets and the Giants, it's just going to be another. Uh, I can't even
You,
go
you,
there.
you know
Can we
what
talk about
name I
something else?
came? You know what name I came across the other day, and I said no one's talking about this guy, and he was supposed to be like the quarterback of the future. Is Trey Lance? What happened to this guy?
Well, he used
He he
that John. That
disappeared.
I think, yeah. Well, he was somewhere last. I don't even know. It's funny you pulled him out of the blue, but that's the Zach Wilson same draft. It's a Trevor Lawrence draft. That
Wow.
draft has been a kind of a disaster. I mean, Lawrence maybe has a little excuse. Wilson, I mean, he's obviously going to be a career backup. I mean, I give one thing to Zach Wilson. He did well on the spouse
I
side.
was
So good.
waiting for you.
So good luck
I
to
was
Zach.
waiting for you to say that.
I know I'm going to get a bad reputation after ripping the Maryland assistant person of whoever she is. John. All right. Do you have anything else with the NFL? There's probably
Really
tons of
quick,
stuff, but yeah,
our
what do you got?
man Diggs actually signed with the Patriots.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, right? Strange. Yeah.
3 years, 69 million, and another old friend. Well, he wasn't with the Jets for long. Hardiman ended up signing with the Packers.
Oh, McCole Hardman.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, I guess we should mention the Jets' biggest move of the last few weeks was signing Josh Reynolds,
Oh yeah.
who's with the Rams, with the Lions. He will fit right into the fourth or fifth receiver option. Folks, there is not much to talk about. Hopefully, draft day will give us something to talk about. And this talk about, and we mentioned this a while ago, extending Sauce Gardner is just to me a bad move. Garrett Wilson makes a lot more sense. I'm not paying Sauce until he bounces back. I
Yep.
did see another story about, and I was just like online some night, and I see, so I didn't even want to click into the article because I was going to get disgusted about Sauce Gardner's addiction to golf. And I read
Oh
this again because
yes.
they had talked about this last year off
Yep.
season.
Yep.
And this is a guy who needs to work on his game. And they're going to pay this guy top dollar. I mean, this is going to be such an interesting. I'll tell you, it's going to be another bad season, but it should be interesting because there is a lot of storylines with the Jets because of the contractual status of guys like Gardner and Brees Hall. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. And also Williams, not Quinnen, his brother. What's his situation? He's trying to find a new deal. I don't think he's
Yep.
getting it.
Yep.
So anyway, plenty to talk about. It's April. We definitely we're in prime winter sports season. We're not going to spend a whole much. I'm sorry, Johnny, just cannot get. I mean, even though as we joked, and oh, you got another football thing before we go to
No,
the
no.
listener? Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to do before we get into the winter sports, I actually wanted to speak about boxing a little bit.
Boxing,
Yes,
boxing. Oh
yes,
my God! All right, before
because
the winter sports, all right, I'll give you the floor. Go quick.
because one of our favorite fighters passed
Oh,
away,
oh, okay.
George Foreman,
That is worthy, right? We have not spoken.
and uh, I don't know if you had the memory I had about George Foreman. So I remember, I believe it was third grade, where uh, in my elementary school they used to have us have a log. Read the newspaper and you write, okay, I read the newspaper and this is story. So I remember the back of the Daily News seeing Joe Frazier on one knee and Foreman, just walking away after he knocked him down. I think that was like the first knockdown that he was on his one knee. Uh, how intimidating to me as an 8-year old watching George Foreman, because I love boxing and I used to watch all of those fights, even as a youngster. Ali Frazier, even the first one. I was really young, but my father was into it. My father walked with Muhammad Ali when he was going to his work in Manhattan, and Muhammad Ali was walking with him for a couple of blocks. And I said, "Well, what did you say?" That was his favorite fighter, by the way, was Muhammad Ali. And he says, "No," he says, "the regular guy, he was walking to Madison Square Garden, and Ali was walking with him, with a couple of other people." But um, getting back to George Foreman, one of the most intimidating fighters. Like I said, this guy was a monster. I mean, total. I mean, when you destroy Joe Frazier, who was one of the toughest fighters in 2 rounds, and then you had Ken Norton, who everyone says, "Oh, the guy's built." You don't remember how built he was. He was just
Sure.
not an ounce of fat, destroying him within 2 rounds, and everyone's saying, "Oh, Ali's going to get killed by Foreman." And Foreman actually didn't take him very seriously. He didn't. There's a lot of mishaps for Foreman in that fight because um,
Was
he
the
got
rope a dope,
injured.
right? It was
Huh?
the rope. He
It
rope a
was a
doped
rope a
him.
dope,
Right.
but what happened was the fight was supposed to take place like 8 weeks before that, but Foreman got cut on his eye, and so he was stuck in Africa for another 2 months. There waiting, for the cut to heal. He didn't go back to the States. He stayed there, and I'm like, wow. And I remember the entire country was against George Foreman. They wanted Ali to win. There's a lot of great documentaries about that fight, but the guy was just an awesome fighter. Obviously, after that fight, he lost his confidence, and then miraculously came back, made a comeback,
Right.
and beat Michael Mora. I mean, he was getting killed. He was absolutely getting pounded in that fight, Foreman. And he
And
set
what?
that kid, and he set
Right.
him up. He set
How
him
old
up.
was he? How old was he when that was old?
45 years old. 45. Amazing.
And also, of course, we cannot leave out a great entrepreneur and a great spokesperson. And whoever got him to do that freaking George Foreman grill, the kudos to that person. Because, folks, for the young crowd out there, everybody had a George Foreman grill, right? I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people had them, right? The old indoor grill, we'll call it, right?
He made $200 million off of that.
So, and
George
that's when,
Foreman.
yeah, $200 million was worth a lot more than it is today.
Yeah.
When you're hearing these franchises, I guess like the Celtics going for like 8 billion, even though I guess allegedly the guy might not have the money. That was a kind of crazy
Yeah.
story. I don't want to get off that, but I'm glad you
But
mentioned George
no,
Foreman.
no,
That
George
was
Foreman, like I said, I used to, you could see all his fights on YouTube. There's plenty, put them all in.
right.
Even after he came out of retirement, he was much heavier. He had the nice guy image the second time around. The first time around, he was like a brooding guy that you were afraid even to look at him. So yeah, great loss. The funniest thing I think is that he named all of his sons George, and
Well,
and They
You
used
might
to.
think it's funny. I don't know how much his kids thought it was funny, but that's
Well, they had
only they
like
can say.
they had nicknames for them.
Well, of
That's
course,
it. Said, well, which if you yelled out George, how would they know which George? He goes, I have nicknames for all of them. I said,
of
okay.
course. Yes, I'm
Anyway,
sure they went by numbers or whatever. Yeah, so yes, that's a big loss to the sports world.
yes, it
Way too
was.
young, right? He was 69, I think, right? He was young. Was it
No,
69
no,
or no,
no,
70,
76.
76? Okay.
76.
For
Yeah.
a boxer, that's probably actually a better run.
Yes,
All
it
right,
is.
John. So yeah, well, from they obviously had some big fights in MSG back in the day. The teams in MSG, the hockey team, is not putting up much of a fight. And as I was saying before we talked about George, was that even though I'm taping the game tonight and we'll be watching the game, I just cannot get into this because even if any, including the Islanders, even if they get in, these teams are going absolutely nowhere. This is not a
True.
situation because hockey usually is, oh, the eighth place team could beat the first place team, the first seed, I should say, in the conference. Happens all the time, which is true. The Rangers just they're not good enough, and the Islanders are the same way. And these
Yeah.
teams are not good enough. I guess the one thing for the hardcore Ranger fans tonight is interesting is their number one pick from a couple of years ago, Gabe Perreault, is making his debut. John, he's a
Yeah.
skilled forward, played at BC college hockey. So we're going to see him tonight. So that definitely adds some excitement. Unfortunately, my man Matt Rempe got hurt, which really stinks because he was actually playing pretty good.
Yeah.
Can they get in? Of course they can. I guess what are they 2 points out with I think the
What is it?
Canadians.
7 to go?
I think it's 8. And there's also games in hand. So I think the Rangers are the least amount of games played. I
Hmm.
should sorry, least amount remain. The Islanders have a game up on them, but they're a few points back. But just in general, like I just can't get that into it because if they were playing well and coming from way off the pace and trying to get in, then you've got some momentum. But they're like basically hanging on
Yeah.
for dear
Yeah.
life here.
Well,
And
everyone makes the playoffs in hockey. I mean, it's ridiculous how many teams
well,
make the
John, the
playoffs.
NBA is worse now. The NBA has taken the mantle, and
Yeah.
we'll switch to the NBA because
Yeah.
let's face it, they continue to do this where 10 teams out of each conference are making it. So
It's
at least the
ridiculous.
NHL stayed at 16 out of 32, and the NBA is now up to 20 out of 32 or whatever
It's
the amount is.
ridiculous. Yeah.
It's
It's
ridiculous. And I know, oh, it's not a playoff game. Hey, you're still technically alive. Yeah, so talk some Knicks, John. I have not been watching too much. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon once the playoffs start. So yeah, a lot of injuries, right?
a lot of a lot of
But
injuries.
Anunoby's playing better. Not playing better. He's always been playing better, but kind of like taking over a little bit.
Yeah. No, Adenobi is just scoring more. His defense is great. I mean, he's always has his hands. I mean, he has a very long reach, so he's always slapping away balls, stealing, blocking. He's all over the place. And when you combine him with a guy like Josh Hart, and now you have. I mean, I'm gonna say that um, they have Kolick playing guard, who's actually been playing pretty well.
What?
Pretty
Because
well.
McBride's been out, right?
McBride's been out. Payne is out. Brunson is out. Even Carl Anthony Towns, his knee's been bothering him, so he sat out the last game. Robinson's actually looks like he's getting his win back. He's been really great on defense. Great on defense. Thing is, can you play more than 20 minutes a night? Can he play back like they're going to play Cleveland tonight? They're going to get crushed tonight. How are they going to, if they don't play Robinson and they're not going to play Carl Anthony Towns, who are you putting at center now? You don't have Sims anymore. But this guy, Delante, right, has
Right.
actually been playing great. He plays excellent defense. He's going to be
Yeah, no,
getting
they acquired him and they didn't play him for the first
right. They
few
sat
weeks.
him. I mean,
I
you
forgot they had him.
let this guy play. He's a great defender.
All
He's a
right.
great defender.
Yeah, Tibbs, play, again, or a guy, a Chua. just like not getting the minutes again. Tibbs, he's so
Bridges is
stubborn.
playing better, and Bridges has been playing better too.
All
It's
right.
amazing how many of these guys have been playing a lot better since Brunson has been out. I
Well,
say,
yeah.
okay,
All right, pick it
let's
up.
show this during they're going to end up playing the Bucks. That's the team I did not want to play in the first round, but it looks like they're going to get the third seed, and the Bucks will be the sixth seed.
All right. Well, they're
So,
definitely third. So, I mean, you said it a few weeks ago. You gave them not much of a shot to beat Cleveland or Boston. Has anything changed? Obviously, they need to be healthy, of course. But if they're
and
if they're healthy,
I think they can. I definitely think that they can beat Cleveland.
okay.
I think they could definitely beat Cleveland. Are they tough enough to beat Boston? Last year they were. This year, I don't see that toughness. I just don't see it. I see the scrappiness from Hart and Adenobie and Brunson and McBride, but you know, if it's rough and tumble, is Towns going to really get in there? Robinson will get down and dirty. But like I said, you don't have a guy like DiVincenzo who went nuts the other day and got thrown out. He went totally crazy.
That's true, but I was just looking at the standings. So the problem is they're not going to play the Cavs, so they're going to
I
play the
know.
Celtics
I
first.
know.
So the
I
road
know.
does go through Boston.
Yep.
All right, so you're a little iffy on that. All right,
Little iffy.
anything
Well,
else?
I
Because
saw
yes,
an amazing game. I don't know if you saw you got to see the highlights of this. It was the Bulls against the Lakers. So
I did see the highlights of that
did you
actually.
see that? What a
Yes.
comeback. I mean, that was crazy, that ending. To the people who are watching this, go to YouTube and it's all you have to see is the last 10 seconds. You don't even have to worry about the other. It was 115, 110. The Lakers were ahead with 10 seconds to go. So the Bulls hit a three, 115, 113. The LeBron James actually threw away the ball on the inbounds. They stole it. Meaning the Bulls. They hit a three. It was 116, 115 with I think 3.5 seconds to go. They took it out. The Lakers ended up getting a two, and now there was I think a second and a half to go, and the Bulls had no timeouts. They ended up inbounding the ball, and Giddy from further than half court hits a three-pointer to win the game. That all happened in 10 seconds.
Yes, that was actually everyone should check that out,
It's
and you'll
crazy.
actually, and I think it was a guy. I think his name, the guy who does the color commentary for the Bulls is Stacy King, I believe, who used to play for
Oh,
the
really?
Bulls.
Oh, okay.
Because I have a little,
Oh,
my
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was giving references to Sanford
Fred
and Son.
Sanford, right?
Yeah.
On the first, when they
Yes.
made it 116,
That's right.
115. So I'm listening to this. I'm like, I think this is Stacey King. He's going berserk. And this is before the Lakers hit the shot and then before the half court shot. So I'm watching this replay go, how is he going to react when, because I knew what happened. I'm like, what is he going to do for an encore after the guy hits the half court shot? I mean, it was really, and he did it again. But
He
I
kept
mean,
going. Yeah.
yeah, he kept going. Yeah, that was great. That was a great ending. I'm glad you brought that up.
A couple of other quick things. Carmelo
Yes.
Anthony just found out today. I don't know who else made it. Uh, he's voted in the Hall of Fame, Basketball Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Carmelo.
Yeah.
Um, the rest are going to be revealed on Saturday. But the big story is the Celtics getting $6.1 billion for their team.
Right. Right.
But as you said, there's a question if that guy could actually even close out the deal for
Right.
that.
So this is the same story as the guy who tried to buy the Islanders. What was his name? Steve Spano, whatever.
Spano,
Where he
yeah, that's
actually
right.
he actually pulled it off and actually bought the team without basically the money to buy him. That's a pretty good if you can pull that off. I don't know how that could last, but yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So more to come on that.
And then three really quick things. More three basketball players who passed away. I didn't know. I mean, we all know about Junior Bridgman, that he was with the Milwaukee Bucks. I had no idea that this guy was a billionaire.
Me either, and me
I
either.
had no, when I read that, again, good player, but even a more successful businessman. I mean,
Absolutely.
amazing what he did. And then you had, if you remember, Oliver Miller, big guy,
Yep,
played
they go. Yep,
Suns, Raptors, passed away very young age. And one that I'm not sure if you remember him. I remember him playing for Seattle. Was
I
Slick?
remember him.
You remember Slick
Yeah,
Watts?
of course, Slick Watts with the bald head and the
Yeah,
headband,
yeah.
of course,
Okay,
point guard.
okay.
Yeah, come on, John. Who are you talking to, here, bro?
All right, all right, all right. I wasn't sure.
When you
Wasn't
stump
sure.
me on something like that, forget it. I'm just as old as you. Now, if you were 10 years older than me, then I might have some problems.
All
But
right.
yeah, now that's as John always pays tribute, and that's a good thing that you do that, John, bringing up to the fans of the ex-athletes of our youth who unfortunately have moved past on. And you're right, some at young ages. Yeah, Junior Bridgman, a great story. And he was a low profile
Yeah,
businessman. I don't think I ever saw a news feature on him in his life. So he didn't care about that stuff. Good for him. His family knew about it. So that's the main thing. But yeah, it's
yeah.
hard to believe you never saw any features about him in his
Nothing.
life.
I,
And
I
you
had no
think that
idea.
that would have, right. So he definitely did that purposely. There's no doubt that people would want to tell his story. Yeah, that's a good one. So, John, as always, I want to thank everybody for checking the show out. Hopefully, they're sticking with us. We're definitely not going to be doing as many shows in the off season for football. We're definitely doing our draft show, so that looking forward to doing that. So there'll be like intermittent updates because let's face it, John, and especially after last year's situation with the Metropolitans, where they started off so bad, it's hard to get too upset about what's going on early. But between the Mets struggling a bit and the Yankees and the torpedo bat, I cannot wait for baseball with Bouk.
Yeah, the Mets didn't get very good news yesterday when they said to us that Manaya is now probably coming back in June.
John, what do
Monta,
we always say
yeah, we
with the Mets? Anytime a guy gets injured with the Mets, you add another 6 weeks to it. It's guaranteed. You're like 90% right on that. It's
uh,
another one.
and the signing that we both didn't understand and why we didn't go after Walker Bueller, okay, is the Frankie Montas signing. I still don't understand that signing where you signed the guy for $34 million, 17 for a guy that was hurt with the Yankees and didn't really show much last year at all. Come on. Yeah, so the Mets starting off 2-4. Today was absolutely one of the sloppiest games.
But John, the beauty of the internet, I took a quick glimpse, and the Mets, before you rip them for today's game, have tied the game, and it is in the 11th inning for
Really?
4-4.
Wow.
So
Okay.
you may have to open up that door and let the people watch the end of the game. Anyway, so John,
Well,
don't be that harsh on them yet. They could still lose, of course, right? They could
all
still lose.
right.
But
So it's
anyway, give
not
your
two and
opinions.
four
You
because
don't know. They're
because when
two
we
and three and
started
a
this
half.
show, it
They were
was
two
two
and four.
outs in the eighth inning. So did they score those runs in the eighth or ninth inning?
I have no idea. I
Okay.
just saw the score because I don't want to see the Rangers score
Because they
because
were
I'm
down
taping the
four
game.
to one. They were down 4-1 in the eighth.
It's in
Okay.
the 11th. It's four to
Okay.
four. There you go.
Okay.
So there is some sort of comeback, and this
Still,
is going to be a sign, John, that you cannot give up on the miracle Mendozas.
but still, one of the sloppiest games. I, you're talking about. I mean, Lindor made two errors yesterday that cost him the game. Senga actually pitched a very good game. Holmes was actually pitching a very good game before Vientos' game is way, way off. I mean, he's getting down on himself fielding wise, hitting wise. He's a mess. You and I were concerned, right? Not to depend on Vientos so much.
You
They
were. You
actually
called
had
that.
him batting cleanup in the first several games. I'm like, why are you doing that to this kid? He's not ready to be a cleanup hitter. It was, like I said, put him down lower in the lineup. Let him get his head straightened there because you see it already. He's trying to duplicate everything he did last year. He's going to put unnecessary pressure on himself, and then he's going to hit 10 home runs for the year if he continues like this. And there was one other thing that he did really badly is he did not hustle down the line when he thought it wasn't today, it was yesterday, where he just jogged to first and he would have made it easily because the shortstop, bobbled the ball. So a lot of things going on with Vientos that I don't like. But the funny thing is the last two games in Miami, they actually opened up the roof. So balls that would have been home runs were being held up by the wind because they had a wind blowing in. And there was one play that Taylor, who's an excellent outfielder, totally misjudged. He went too far back and he missed it by like 10 feet. I mean, it's all little league stuff. I mean, it's some really, really terrible fielding the past 3 or 4 days. I mean, even my wife was saying they need Rick Pitino to be their manager to go and scream at them for the way they've been playing. So, not right now, not very clean baseball and not very good hitting either. So,
all right. Well, 5
for
games
now,
in.
we're only 6 games in. So
Right now it's 6, right? If they hopefully they come back and win this game. But John, let's just put it out there quickly. The Florida Marlins situation. There was actually a great little thing I saw online where they are stealing money.
Yes, they are.
They are like their percentage of their salary versus their revenues is the lowest in MLB, and the Mets were the highest, right? Did you see
Yeah,
this? I don't know if you
yeah,
saw it. That was actually really interesting.
yeah,
27% of their revenue is going to the salaries of their
yeah,
team, and they stake. They're a AAA team. It's a
yeah. But
complete embarrassment. And the owner, John, he's just raking it in, John.
yeah,
He's raking the money in, and he's not spending them. It's absurd what's going on. That stadium was 90% Met fans the other night. I was
it
watching.
was, it was, and
It's
well, what's
crazy.
even worse is with this revenue sharing, the Rays and the Marlins make the most money out of any teams. They were saying that the Rays, when they get their average, well, they're playing in the Yankees
Yeah,
minor league
I
team
know it's
now.
crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Well, it was
They
a storm.
made
Yeah.
70. The Rays made $70 million last year.
Right.
70 because of the revenue sharing. Marlins was the second one. I believe they were like around 50 million. It's like, why do they need to win? They don't need to win. Just keep. It's amazing. They got to do something. You know what? I would say to people in Florida, you don't deserve a team. They both should move because you don't have a fan base. I'm sorry. The Marlins have shown with such a beautiful stadium. Paul, you need to go to that stadium. If you're ever in Miami, go to that stadium. It is a magnificent stadium. Um, you guys don't deserve a team. I'm sorry. Even when you were competitive, and what was it, a couple of years ago with Kim Ng as your GM, you guys made the playoffs. You guys couldn't sell out a playoff game. It was ridiculous. You don't deserve a team in Miami, and neither do you in Tampa. I think they're going to move that team to probably Nashville or something like that. I'm pretty
It's
sure.
it's a double-edged sword there with the fans too, because they know what the owners are doing by not spending the money. I mean, Tampa has historically spent more, so maybe they're in a little debt there, and that's why they're not spending as much. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
they're
they were
playing
willing to
out.
build them a new
Yeah.
stadium. They were
I don't
willing
know
to,
what happened with those deals. Yeah,
and the owner says, "Oh well, they were like a month late," and he says, all of a sudden he came up with an excuse. Well, it's going to cost us $200 million more. I said, where did you get that number? In 1 month, 1 month delay? Yeah, he doesn't want to stay in Tampa. He
yeah, he wants out. Yeah,
he wants
he's
out.
a New Yorker, that guy, right? That's
Right,
what it
right.
is.
At
Yeah.
Sternberg.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right, right.
yeah.
So, all right. So, what do you got around the league? Oh, actually, of course. What am I talking about?
Well,
We got to
let me
get to
tell
the
you.
torpedo. You got
Well,
more Met stuff? Where you
yeah, let me
just
tell you about some Met stuff
all right?
before we get to the torpedoes. The Mets first time in the Mets history, their entire season ticket allocation sold out.
Wow.
So you cannot buy a season ticket now. Totally sold out. First time in their history. Now they have another thing. Like my wife always says, when you go to a Yankee game, you're there to watch baseball. When you go to the Mets game, it's like watching a circus. So they've added to the circus now. They've decided now, you know how they have those mascots that they race, like the
Yeah, right.
Nationals have the President's Run
Right.
and
And the Milwaukee
Milwaukee has
started that, right?
the,
Yeah.
right? So the Mets now have their own. Now listen to these mascots now that are going to run. It's one for each borough. So we have a subway car, a giraffe, pizza, skyscraper, and a ferry. So obviously, ferry is Staten Island, skyscraper is Manhattan, pizza is Brooklyn, giraffe is supposedly Bronx for the Bronx
Yeah.
Zoo,
Yeah, of course. Yes.
and subway car is Queens.
There you go. Wow, I'll tell you that with the marketing genius who came up stealing somebody else's idea and doing it themselves. But John, I hate to say it and kind of rip it on some fans who go to the games, but they used to have like they still do it, right? With the baseball under the hat shuffle or the little
Please.
races, and people get so into that. So it is pretty funny, like when you go to the games, right? And like
It's a circus.
they're right. They're more excited of like they'll make noise during the ball under the hat, but when the Mets are scoring a run, they'll just sit there and they don't do anything. It really
They're
is
walking
funny.
around getting
Very.
something to eat. Yeah, let's go get something else with 2,000 calories.
All right. Well, that's what Bouk and Zoobie are. We're sports geeks. But yeah, no, we got to get to the New York
Yeah.
Torpedoes. I mean,
So
come on.
the
So what's your thought about this? I think it's innovation is a great thing. What's going on with this
it's
thing?
listen, the Yankees should not be blamed for anything except being smart enough to do the analysis and saying, you know what, these particular hitters hit the ball on this part of the bat. So if they move the thicker part of the bat down, it's fine. Or you want to put it more towards the label, fine. As long as it's within the rules, and they're not breaking any rules. So
All
the
right. Well,
Yankees have been hitting. Listen, Aaron Judge is going to hit home runs no matter what. So to say, oh well, Aaron Judge hit all these, he's going to hit 50. If he stays healthy, that man's hitting 50, maybe
easy.
60,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
easily.
Yes.
And
Easy
and
50.
and 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 I watched a couple of the Yankee games, and it still irks me with that right field porch. I mean, it is the cheapest home run by far in the league. I can't stand when those home runs just barely make it over that fence. So listen, Jazz Chisholm took advantage of it. Goldschmidt's I think, is gonna do very well for the Yankees this year. That right field porch, oh my God! You know how many home runs and Bellinger too. If he could keep pulling the ball, he's gonna have a great year too. Their problem is they have no pitching now. No Yeel, no
Right.
Cole. They have Stroman, who could barely last 5 innings. He wants to get that option. He has to pitch 140 innings this year. You think the Yankees are going to let him get anywhere near that? Because if he does, then he has a $23 million option. You know the Yankees don't want to keep him around. There's no way.
They'll
So
probably try to trade. Right. They'll trade him. Right. Does he? I mean, but the problem is if he's pitching good enough and they're in the pennant race, what are they going to
I,
do?
I mean, they got Schmidt back, but they still have Carrasco. Carlos Carrasco
Right. So
is going to be in the rotation at least one or two times, which I find pretty funny. And they actually brought back, because they're so short of relief pitching now, Adam Ottavino. They signed Adam Ottavino to be part of their bullpen. 39 years old. Just amazing.
that's
Just
not a good sign for the
that's not it.
Torpedoes.
Yeah, the Yankees are in trouble with their starting pitching. But talk about starting pitching really quickly around baseball. So here's another Boris client that got messed up. Jordan Montgomery. The Rangers, as you know, signed him to like a 1 year contract with an option. So it was a player's option. He actually exercised it. He had a terrible year last year. what ends up happening? He needs Tommy John surgery.
Oh, does he? I didn't hear that.
So he he's probably just kicking himself and Boris for turning down a 6-year contract. He could have had a $150 million contract last year. So, I mean, as another Boris client, another guy, Scherzer, out after one start. First it's his lat, he's blaming his thumb now.
What
He was
he got
signed
a
for
decent.
$15.5 million
John, these
from the
teams are
Blue
so.
Jays.
It's
Fifteen
amazing.
and a half million. Then you have, I'll give you one even worse than the Scherzer signing. Guy should never be in baseball. Is Patrick Corbin got a 1-year deal from the Rangers for 6 years? This guy had over a 6 ERA the past 3 or 4 years. And what? Because he's a lefty? He's
Yes.
it's incredible. It's incredible. Just just crazy stuff. And then the dumbest player in baseball has to be Profar, who signed
Oh
a
wow.
3-year deal for $43 million with the Braves, and then gets suspended for 80 games for performance-enhancing drug. This was his largest contract. He signed for $1 million last year. Okay, had a great year. Why would you ever jeopardize your contract?
Well, he
It's
was he was
amazing to me.
he was juiced up to make sure he got the big deal, but he didn't realize he had to realize he had to stop because who cares if the money's guaranteed. Yeah. So and also I wanted to mention I saw that Jake DeGrom it pitched one of his typical games, right, where he got a no decision. He pitched 5 innings and it was one
Yeah,
nothing. I was laughing when I saw that,
yeah.
and he
Well,
was winning 1-0, and then of course they blew the lead but won the game. So I'm
yeah,
glad to see Jake pitching again. He's a
yeah. No,
great
I
pitcher.
like Jake.
He's a
I
great
like Jake.
pitcher.
They
So, okay, so
well, the
but who is
lucky
your? I was going to say, who is your surprise? I mean, I know it's ridiculous. I mean, it's only 6, 7 games, right? But is anybody jumping out there as a surprise to you in the league? That's a team.
no, not
Not yet.
not yet. I mean,
Okay, way too
you know,
early.
the
Because
two
I
the
saw
two
something with the Reds. Everybody was excited about the Reds for
yeah,
because of Francona.
it's
Okay,
too soon. But
right, right. Okay,
like I said, the two guys that I thought would do well for the Mets this year is McGill, and my surprise player, other than Siri, was this kid Max Kranick, who I saw in spring training. He's actually done pretty well.
right.
You
He's
know, this is a
pitched.
guy that was a starting pitcher with the Pirates, hurt his arm. Mets picked him up off of the waiver wire, saw something in him. This guy throws smoke, man. I mean, I hope he could stay healthy. He might
And the other
be,
kid pitched well too, right? Channing pitched okay, right? He pitched well.
yeah,
No,
yeah, Canning, yeah,
Canning. I'm sorry.
yeah, Canning, yep, yep, yep.
All
But
right.
one other thing, this was a signing that shows how desperate they are for starting pitching. So, you know that the Red Sox ended up trading for Crochet from the White Sox. They just gave him an extension. He's only had 200. I looked at his stats. 33 total starts in his career. 224 innings totally in his career. And they gave him 6 years, $170 million. I mean, Major League Baseball is desperate for pitching, absolutely desperate. So,
And the other, I guess, other big, I guess, the next superstar in baseball, right? The Pirates pitchers, right? Skeens, right? Is that how you
yeah,
pronounce his last name?
yeah, they actually had his game. It was against Tampa Bay today. They actually had on MLB Network. Guy's a great pitcher. I mean,
Right.
and
So
they were playing in Tampa in that minor league stadium.
that's
And
awesome.
by the way, because there is no dome, they were playing in 93-degree heat today.
It was that hot down
It
there.
was hot. Yeah, the
Can they
face.
send some of that up north, please? My God. Anyway, that's another story. And actually, well, we should mention Paul Skeens, right? He probably just as well known for his girlfriend, right, than his pitching prowess. So for people who can look him up, it's what Skenes, right?
Right.
So he's got a bad mustache. He's a great pitcher. But baseball needs stuff like that, especially a team like the Pirates, who are a disaster otherwise. So it's just, something, the young type of Dwight Gooden type of player.
Yeah.
Hopefully, doesn't get hurt, and that's great. So great, great stuff on baseball, John, all over the place, folks. We really appreciate it. As always, checking out the show. Like I said, please like the episodes. So, John, who do you got to thank?
As always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners and viewers. Keep the feedback coming. Keep watching. We love the comments. And we actually like to have some of you come on our show as guests. Uh,
Oh, there
also,
you go.
thanks Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you in 2 weeks.